Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we're going to Masech the Ksuvas daf Kuf Yud Aleph. We are going to begin on the bottom of Kuf Yud Amid Beis, the second line from the bottom. Rav Zera Havi Kimishtamit Mined Rabbi Yehuda. So Rav Zera would avoid encountering Rabbi Yehuda, the Bola Mesik Eretz Yisrael, because Rav Zera was planning on going to Eretz Yisrael. So what's wrong with that? Yom Rabbi Yehuda Kol Oilam Mebabel Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Yehuda said that anyone who goes from Babel to Eretz Yisrael, say, you've actually violated an asay. So Rashi says, Rabbi Yehuda moiche biyadai, ha'achihavi mishtami minei. Obviously, not everyone holds on Rabbi Yehuda because Rav Zera himself went to Eretz Yisrael. So Shnemar, where does Rabbi Yehuda say that you shouldn't go to Eretz Yisrael? So the Gemara says in Kuf Yud Aleph Amud Aleph, Bavela yuvo, that they will come. The Shamayu, but there they will stay in Bavel ad Yoim Pokdi Oisam. No Mashem, until the day in which I basically call them in times of Mashiach. Until then, you're not supposed to go. Rav Zera, who says that's not what the pasuk is talking about, Ha'ubikli Sharis Ksiv, says Rashi, Kral El Mine Ksiv, Ki Karma Hashem El Ha'amudim Vel Hayam Vel Hamachainos, all these different holy vessels. That's what it's referring to. Now, if you look at Toisus Avgad the High Kra Begolus Rishon Ksiv Yeshamar the Golus Sheni Nami Kapik Kra. Really, this pasuk is talking about the first Golus in Yirmiyah, but perhaps it's all in this situation. It's talking about our current goals. Rabbi Yehuda Ksiv Kra Chrina. Rabbi Yehuda has another pasuk. The pasuk says in Shir Shirim, Hishbati Eschem, to take an oath Benos Yishlayim. Bitzva'ois oi ba'ayolois asada, regarding the gazelles or those of the various kinds of animals of the field. So Rav Zera hahu shlo yalu Yisrael b'chayma. So Rav Zera says this pasuk is just telling you that you should not go mightily, like as a wall, to build like a wall. It says Rashi, Yachad biyad chazaka, to all go together with strength. So this is an interesting point that L'char, even in Rav Zera, is this therefore an issue with, let's say, having Eretz Yisrael currently as a state? So this is perhaps the illusion that's found in this Gemara, which perhaps gives that impression, which obviously needs understanding. How we interpret this. Rabbi Yehuda Hishbati Achrini Ksiv. There's actually another Hishbati, another oath. Rav Zera Hu Meboyle Rav Yosef Rabbi Chanina. Diarma Gimel Shavuos Halal Lama. There's actually three. Achashol Yalu Yisrael B'chayma. First of all, they shouldn't go up like as a wall. The Achash Shishbiya Kodesh Baruch Hu Es Yisrael Shlo Yimrdu B'Umos Ha'olam. Another is a Shvua that shul yimadu umosom, they shouldn't rebel. The achash shishbiya kodesh baruch hu esav kachavim shelo yishtabdu bahem b'yisrael yos medai, that we shouldn't be in servitude too much. So the basic pshat of coming b'chayma is referring to like just stam forcefully, but some people say, like we say in the Tefillah Sheshomin Yisrael, Reisha Smichas Goloseinu, that this is actually, some people feel it's actually the process of the Geula, of the redemption. So it's not that it's an issue like the Gemara is saying here, that's just like stam to go fighting or to be forceful, but as opposed to the way that we were Yerush Eretz Yisrael in its current status. Again, tremendous depth needs to be studied in this sugya. Rabbi Yehuda says, based on the pasuk, also in Shir Shirim, im ta'iru, if you awaken, v'im ta'iru, ksiv. Reb Zer meboyle could Reb Levi diamer shish shvus halal lama. Why is there 6? Tlasa hanin amra. 3 we said. Enoch shel yigalu kates. Another one is they should not reveal the kates when Mashiach is going to come. Those various neviim, ushalo yercharko as a kates, that the kates should not be too long. It should be in its proper time. And Rashi says, "Lashon achar shlo yirchu gersinan Lashon daichik shel yarbu b'tachanunim. They shouldn't increase in supplication. Al kach yois medai more too much. Mushalo yigalus hasoid le'evik hachavim. And this is a question that's posed. Question 1, TB6. What does it mean not to reveal secrets to the Ovik Hachavim? So Rashi gives two pshatim here. Either Amrila Said Ha'ibor, to talk about the various calculations of the months and the like through the calendar. Amrila Said Tami Torah, the reasons of Torah. Fine. And now, which perhaps is one of the issues of the Septuagint that we saw in Gemara Megillah. Okay. And then the pasuk in Shir Shirim says, "B'sfais obayolei." So we said when these gazelle or the hinds of the field, these different like rams. So Omer Sada. So Omer Elazar Omer Lemekadosh Baruch Yisrael. Imatem akayam mesashvua mutav. If you keep my shvua good, Yimlav ani materes besarchem. I will like free your flesh. Like these animals that are on the field. Says Rashi, Lashon Hefker. Omer Rebbe Lezer, Kol Adar Beretz Yisrael Shrei Shloich Avoin. Person who lives in Eretz Yisrael, it's like you're living without sin. Shnemer Ubal Yoimer, that you shouldn't say Shachin Chalisi Ha'am, Shachin, this neighbor who is ill, Hayoshi Ba Nasei Avoin. He's forgiven for sins. Amalei Rabbi Rabashi Anan B'Sayim Chaloyim Masnin on law. So withholding, being able to control and endure the illnesses. Omer Abanan Kol cover Eretz Israel Kiyu cover Tachas HaMizbeach. This is some people say, well, people don't live in Israel, but they get buried in Israel. So how could you do that? The answer is that this Gemara tells you clearly that there's an Indian to be buried in Eretz Israel. It's like you're being buried under the Mizbeach, which means you achieve kapara. Ksiv hacham mizbach adamatasli, that's of earth. Uksiv hasam v'chipar ad masay amoy. Ula havi ragol da havi salka Eretz Israel. So he used to go to Israel. Nach nafshi b'chutz la'aretz. However, when Ula died, he died out of Israel. Also, it came Omerlei Rebbe Lezer Omerlei Omar Ant Ula al Adama Tamea Tomus. On this impure land, he should die. Says Rashi, Mikrahu Benavim in Amois. So Amelo Aroinoba, the Aron came. Says Rashi, cover Eretz Israel. He's going to be buried, even though he died out of Eretz Israel. He's going to be buried in Israel. So Amelhem Einu Daima Kolatasai Mechayim Katalasal Achamisa. You cannot compare a person who was accepted while he was alive to when he accepted after he died, which sounds like there's some special inyan to die in Eretz Yisrael as opposed to dying in Chutzart and then being brought. So there was a man that there was a Yavama that fell to him. Am I able to go to Chutz La'aretz in order to do Yibam? So Amalei Achiv Nasa Kusis Umeis. Your brother married a Kusis and he died. Baruch HaMakom Shahargu. V'hu Yerid Acharav. So blessed is Hashem about that. This is what happened to him. So you're going to go down after him? And as he's saying, no, you shouldn't leave. It was wrong that he was out of Eretz Yisrael. Amar Yehuda Mishmol. Kashem she'asalot says Eretz Yisrael Bavel. Just like you can't go from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, Bavel is a makom Torah. Therefore, if you're in Bavel, you shouldn't leave it. Rabbi Yosef I feel the pumadisa lebekuvi. Someone actually went from one location to the next to live there. Shamti Rabbi Yosef, and he excommunicated him. Hahud nafik the pumadisa la'astanya. In Shachim he died. If let's say you have this young Talmid Chacham, Havichaye, then he could have lived. In other words, by he could have lived by not leaving. Rav Yosef Tavayu Sharon Shibabavel Eretz Yisrael Kol Tatan. The people that in Eretz Yisrael, the people that the best people in Bavel will basically be buried in Eretz Yisrael. The best people out of the lands, bubble cut the lost line. So the bubble will absorb them, which means maybe they'll be buried in Eretz Yisrael. So are we talking about Yochsin? That implies that Yochsin is better in Eretz Yisrael. Bavel has the highest Yuchsin, because it was all calculated, as it says in the fourth parak of Masechtas Kedushin. Rashi brings down Shenoisim Nashim Eretz Yisrael. V'ha Bavel miyuchas tfei. They had better yuchas. El inyan kvura, the inyan of being buried. So this is question 2 and TA5. Kshem shebisharatza is Bavel kol tasan. Well, my hilchasa nemor lahavamina umaskana. So the Havamina is Yochsin, the Maskan is Kvura. So what did I write for question TA5? TA5, well, they wrote a little bit differently. In Eretz Yisrael, Isla Bavel. So in Yochsin, we find Bavel's better, but in Kvura, Eretz Yisrael is better, and therefore, Kshen Shibabel, Eretz Yisrael Kol Tatan. Okay, that's what I wrote. All right. Okay. Weiter. El inin kvura. Amar Yehuda. Kol hadar beBavel ki hadar beEretz Yisrael. Anyone who lives in Bavel, it's like you're actually living in Israel, because again, there's this inyan of coming closer to Hashem in a Makom Torah. Let's see this Rashi before. El inin kvura. Shal Bavel moilichin aronehem. We cover beEretz Yisrael. The best people in Bavel are going to take their aron to be buried in Israel. Sharatzos harachaykim Eretz Yisrael. People are very far from Israel. Karayim Bavel, they're a little bit closer to Bavel. Karayim Bavel sheisham zchus Torah. So there's a zchus Torah. There's an inyan to be buried where there's zchus Torah. Okay, so anyone who lives in Bavel, it's like you're in Israel. Shenemer hoyt Sion him. So it mentions Sion, which is of course Eretz Yisrael. Hamalti Yoshevas bas Bavel. So save yourself who dwells in Bas Bavel. So you see the connection between Sion and Bavel. First wide line. Omer Abaya Naktinan Bavel Loichazia Chevlin Mashiach. So we have the tradition that Bavel will not see the pangs of Mashiach. So what is that? Tzirguma Ahutzel de Binyamin. The Karle Karna de Shezavta. This is referring to the corner of safety, which is in the time of Mashiach. Amarav Elazar Mesim Shemachutzaretz Einam Chayim. When it comes to anyone who died outside of Israel and they're buried here, they will not come back to life by Tchis Mesim. Shnemar when Ustati Tzvi beEretz Chayim, that they'll be given the land of the deer beEretz Chayim. So Eretz Shibitz Byoini Ba Meseha, the place where it's desired they're dead, Chaim, they will come to life, which is Israel. Shein Siv Yoini Ba in Meseha Chaim, those people will not come back to life. Mesev Rav Abba Bar Mamel Yichyu Mesecha, those who have died will come to life. Nevelasi Yakumun, their corpses will stand up. My love Yichu Mesecha Mesim Shveretz Israel. Niv Lasi Yakuman Mesim Shvechutzarts. The pasuk is saying that even Mesim Chutzarts are going to come back. Umay Menasati Tzvi beEretz Chaim. What is that referring to? A Nebuchadnezzar Hudachsiv. This is referring to the notion of, what is that, Nebuchadnezzar? Di'oimer Rachmana Maisina Elihu. Bring upon them Malka king the Kolil Kitavia, that is swift like a deer. So Rabbi Mikra Acharani Darish. I have a different pasuk. Nice in the Shamul Aleha, that I will place the soul on this nation, Baruach L'Holchim, and spirit for those who go upon it. El Ksiv Nevilasi Akuman. Hahu Benefolim Hudachsiv. These are referring to stillborns. Interesting. That a stillborn will be in Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Abba Bar Mamel, Hai Noisin Neshamel Amaleha Mayabadle, Meboyle Rabba Void, Ravo, I feel Shivcha Kananish, Eretz Yisrael. Even a Shivcha Kananis in Israel moved to Choshi Basalam Haba. Again, no matter, even if it's a Shivcha, maidservant, a Pashto woman who's a maidservant, also is going to have Olam Haba because of her environment. Ksiv Hachal Amaleha, Ksiv Hasam Shulchem Poi Im Hachamor. which is talked about by Akedas Yitzchak. Daim Lechamor. So which is referring to a Shivcha. Baruch Holchim Ba. Rav Yomi Barabba Rav Yochanan Kol Mahalachar B'Amos Be'Eretz Yisrael Muftach Lo Shalom Haba. Even if you walk 4 amos in Eretz Yisrael, that's enough that you will zaycha a portion in the world to come. Zaycha that you'll be mutach shu ben olam haba. Or belezer tzadikim shberetz Yisrael inim chayim. What does that mean? Tzadikim outside of Eretz Yisrael are not going to come back to life. Rabbi Law al Gilgal. It doesn't mean that a tzaddik gomer who's buried out in a cemetery in New York is not going to. There will be no tches mesim. It'll be al Gilgal. Says Rashi, misgalgalim hatzamois ad Eretz Yisrael v'chayin sham. That his bones will roll through these various tunnels in the ground. Maskav Rav Abba Sala Rava Gilgal Sadikim Sarhu. So the question is, it sounds like it's going to be a lot of pain breaking through this earth. So Rabbi Mechilois Nasas Lem Bakar. There's going to be these different passageways and caves, so they'll be able to go through them without difficulty. Now it's brought down regarding Yaakov. The pasuk says, that I should be buried in Marsa Machpelah. So Omer Karna, said Devarim Begoy, that these matters are like, says Rashi, Yeshkan Devarim Misusarim. This is kind of like almost like on the outside, something which is very deep and hard to understand, and you have to put thought into it. Yodea Yaakov Avinu Shetzadik Gomer Hoya. He knew it was a tzaddik. V'imeisim shebechutz aretz chayim. So Lama Hatriach is Banov. Why did he have to make such a big deal that he had to matriach his children to have his remains leave Eretz Yisrael to go to Chutz, to leave Mitzrayim to go to Eretz Yisrael? Because Shemel Yiskem Mechilois. Maybe he wouldn't be Zaychet to that form of Tchias Mesim. It's more of a schus to be Zaychet to the Mechilois. So therefore he felt, instead of going through these passageways, better that he should be buried in Eretz Yisrael. Which, of course, that's quite scary because that's Bishop. If Yaakov Avinu had that concern, Kal v'chomer kol shekein about us. That he also made him swear. Rav Chanina Devarim Begoy Yodeha Yosef Ba'atzma Shesadi Gomer Hoya V'im Meisim Shebachutz Haaretz Chaim Lo Mehatriach Esacha Arba Meos Parsa. So Shemel Yiskel Mechilois. So that's also even scary. Yosef Tzaddik. So why did we have Moshe brought his remains? We went and brought his remains for 40 years in Eretz throughout the Midbar. Why? Because again, he was concerned he wouldn't be Zaycha L'Mechilois. Sholchule Achohi. He sent a letter. She sent this letter L'Rabba. Yaakov Shesadi Gomer Hoya etc. Ilfa Moisif Badvarim. He added things. Masa be'echa shahayim mitzdayer al yisha achas. There was a person who was mitzdayer regarding a woman. Ubikesh leired, and he wanted to go down. It says Rashi, v'hayilu achim be'eretz Yisrael. He had brothers in Eretz Yisrael. V'shalchui gerazu kedishiel etzlam. They sent a letter so he should go by them. So that's what it's referring to. Rashi says, he wanted to be able to marry this woman, but she wasn't in Israel. So what happened was that once he heard this, he maintained his strength. Either Gilgal now alive or later when he died with Sar. Yomi Moisai. It's not medayma to learn by yourself. You can learn from your teacher. Says Rashi, Yafalacha la'alois kan lilmoin mepi rav, to learn from your teacher. Shein daima haloimin ma'atzmo. It's better than learning from yourself. The entire ein l'cha rav. What if, let's say, there's no Rav in Israel? Yeshach Rav, there is. Umanhu Rav Yochanan. If you don't go up, he's Zahar B'Shlosh. Be careful with 3 things. Al Tarbim Yeshiva, don't sit too much. Yeshiva Kashal Atachtonius, it's bad for your intestines. Yal Tarba Bamida, don't stand too much. Shamida Kashal Lev, standing can cause problems for your heart. Yaltarba b'halicha, don't walk too much. Shalicha kashal einayim, it's bad. All the pounding of the ground could affect your eyes. El shlish b'yeshiva, shlish b'yamida, shlish b'hiluch, which again Torah teaches you. Torah is all about balance. Stand a third, sit a third, and walk a third. Kol yeshiva sheni masmicha, any sitting which doesn't have like leaning, amida neiche menu, then standing is better. Amida sagadadach, v'yamrid amida kashal leiv, he says bad for the heart. El yeshiva, when it comes to sitting, as we continue to kuf yud aleph, omid beis, she'ein basmicha, when it comes to sitting without leaning, amida sheish basmicha neiche menu, standing with leaning is better. V'chein amru, says Rashi, she'ein basmicha, kamo hamitais, oh, these beds, oh, bekatratais yesh smicha. Okay. V'chein amar Yitzchak v'Shimon v'Oishia amar Darecha. They say the same thing. Halacha Rabbi Yehuda. Halacha Rabbi Yehuda regarding to going to Eretz Yisrael. Okay. Oh, he says the halachas Rabbi Yehuda rather beparadais when it comes to the dinim of mules. Okay. The sign Rabbi Yehuda Aimer pirda shetava. If let's say you have a mule that wishes to engage in tashmish, ein marbian oleha lo sus lo chamor elamina, that you should only bring its species. Now we know a mule is actually a mixture of a horse and a donkey. So the question is, what is this advice? That if you have a mule that wants to have tashmish, don't bring a horse and don't bring a donkey. So perhaps it's coming to tell you that if you stay mixed in chutz la'aretz, what did I write over here? If you stay mixed in chutz la'aretz, then akum, don't mix, rather stay with your own. So basically, it's saying that even maybe the whole notion of staying not mix. Look at Surashi. Misafkele ichayshishin lazera of ilo. The whole problem is a rechayshish of the father. Hilka chafil hibas chamayra nekeva. Even if, let's say, the daughter of this donkey was female, ein marvin aleha chamor. Shem achayshim lazera av v'nimsa marbia kilayim. So there's an issue of kilayim, of forbidden mixtures. So perhaps it's the notion of once you go outside of chutz la'aretz, so you can be mixing with other people who are not like you. So it's better to be in the mix, but not in the mix with people that are not like you. Okay, with your same values. All right, it's a shtickle, interesting piece why that's brought down over here. Rav Nachman Yitzchak ze Rab Yitzchak Nafka, Shimon ze Rab Shimon ben Pazi, V'yamol Rab Shimon, Oishia ze Rab Oishia beRebbi. Amar Belezer, Ame haratzais enuchayim. When it comes to the Am Haaretz, they're not going to come back to life. Techis mesim shnemer mesim bal yichyu begomer. Tanya mihachi mesim bal yichyu yachol koyel tamlomer refoyim bal yukuman be marpeh atzmo b'divrei Torah. These are referring to people that are weak in Torah study. Hakasim adaber. Amar Rav Yochanan, which is an Am Haaretz. Amar Rav Yochanan lo nicha lo marayu. It's not pleasing to Hashem. How can you say this? This is someone who weakens himself from worshiping an idol. This is actually a positive thing. Mikra acher anidarish. Kital oiros, which is a sefer actually called Tal Oiros. Kital oiros talecha, that the dew of the lights is your dew. The eretz refoim tapil, and the land of refoim will fall. So call him mishamish ba'or Torah. Anyone who is mishtamish the light of the Torah or Torah mechayehu, it'll give him life. However, chol she'en mishtamish ba'or Torah, ein or Torah mechayehu, you won't live. Kivan dechazi dekamitzayer, once he was upset and he was mitzdayer about hearing all this. Armulei Rebbe mitzasil hen takanim in the Torah. There's the takana. V'yatam adveikim Hashem alkeichem chaim kolchem hayoim. How can you attach to the Shechina? Hashem's fire. Even if you're an Am Haaretz, right? No reason to be a mitzdayer. and that you're not going to have Tchias Mesim, because if you marry your daughter to a Talmud Chacham, Pragmati or Talmud Chacham, you do business with them, and you help Talmud Chachamim and you give them from your possessions. It's like you're connecting to the Shechina. So therefore you'll be Zoich Tchias Mesim. To love Hashem and to attach. The Chiyashul Adam with Dabik B'Shechina. Koma Sebi to Talmud Chacham. V'Oisa Pragmati to Talmud Chachamim. V'Mehena Talmud Chachamim L'Chasav. So that's the same drasha. Bar Yosef, Asidim Sadikim. In the future, the Sadikim Shemivatz Betzin, they will sprout v'oyim Yerushalayim. Shenemar v'yatzisu me'ir. It says they'll sprout forth from the city. Ke'esav aretz, like the grass of the earth. Ve'in ir el Yerushalayim shenemar v'ganoisi el ha'ir azayis. I'll protect the city. Remember Rav Chia bar Yosef. Asidin, this is actually going in Sanhedrin, Perichelek with Cleopatra. Asidim in the future, Tzadikim Shiamdu B'malvushehem. They're going to come back to life wearing clothing. Kavachayim Machita. We can see this from a wheat kernel. Machita Shinikra Ruma, it's buried naked, so to speak. Yotze B'Kamal Levushim. It comes out with a lot of coverings over the wheat. So Tzadikim Shinikru B'Lvushehem. A tzaddik who's buried with tachrichim, with shrouds, alachas kama v'kama. Yom Rav Chia bar Yosef asid Eretz Yisrael shetaitzi gluskois uklei melos. In the future, Eretz Yisrael will produce rolls of like cakes and bread, and klei melos, fine woolen clothes. Shnemar yehi pisas bar ba'aretz, that the will be wide as one's hand on the earth. Tanabanan yehi pisas bar ba'aretz baroish harim amru asidim chita. In the future, a wheat kernel shetimahir kedekel v'oila b'rosh harim. It will grow as tall as a date palm tree at the top of a mountain. V'shema tamer yesh sar l'kait. So therefore, maybe it's going to be hard to harvest. Talmud Leimer yirash kalvanayin pirio. It'll be like the rustling of the fruits. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, maybe ruach mebeis ginazav. Hashem's going to bring this wind from his hidden places. Umenashvil, it'll blow on it. Umishra es salasa, and all the flour will fall down. The adam yoitzel asad, they go out to the field, and maybe moloi pizzas yadai umemena parnasasu parnasashi beisai. So it's not going to be difficult. Im chayliv kilyois, as the fat of kidneys, chita is the wheat. So amr asida chita shtehei kishtig klayois. Wheat kernels will be like the size of 2 kidneys, shel shar gad of a big ox. Don't get so shocked. Shari shuel kinin belefes. For a fox puts in a hole a turnip. Vishakluhu, and then it takes a rest. Umatsu bo shishim litrin belitra shel tzipari, and ends up being bigger. Tanya Amar Rabbi Yosef Masa B'Shichin, which is the name of a place. He left 3 stalks of mustard seeds. V'nifshach echnehem, and one of the branches it branched. One of them branched out. There was 9 kabin of mustard. The 8 of sichabosukas yoitzrin, and the wood was used for a potter's hut. 2 dots. We're going to stop there because the last stop is a little bit short. Okay, let's see. Is there another question that we didn't do yet? Question 3. That's mi kara koser refoyim v'ormalehem shlo yichyu la'avoy, that they're not going to have tchias amesim. So it could be referring to someone who's marpa atzma b'divrei Torah, who's weak in learning Torah, or one who's marapa atzma l'avodas chachavim. Actually, what it means is he's weak in his desire, and that he actually does want to worship idols, is the proper way of reading it. So for some reason, TA6 has part of it says V'hoisi yadei el avim b'tsoid ami lo yu v'ksa beis Yisrael yichtavu lo makavana b'tsoid uviksav. So we only did side. We'll see this tomorrow. Adkan.